So let me introduce the last speakers of this session, Kim Solez and Ishita Mogue. Kim Solez, of course, is famous co-founder of the Transplant Classification in 1991. And as you all know, the advanced classification is updated every 2 years. And we are looking forward for the update from the last meeting in 2017.
Thank you very much. So we intend to do this in 25 minutes, and one of the ways we're going to do that is to assume that you've read the meeting report from 2017. Those of you who were at the meeting know that there were a lot of exciting things that occurred that are not in the meeting report, and that's part of what we're going to talk about today, as well as the future. And I don't think it's very logical to hear about the future from just the person as old as me, and that's why Ishita is joining us. So I'm Kim Solez. I'm professor of pathology at the University of Alberta and the founder of the BAMF classification.
I'm Ishita Mogue. I'm a research fellow in renal pathology working with Dr. Solez.
And so, let's figure out, yeah. So the 2017 Barcelona meeting was in many ways the best BAMF transplant meeting ever. You know, I've been doing this for 27 years, and every other meeting I had regrets at the end of the meeting, sometimes serious and sometimes only moderate, but always regrets. This was the first time where it was perfect enough that I really had no regrets. And part of the reason was the way in which we kind of captured what I and a lot of the attendees regard as the spirit of BAMF.
So the 27 meeting was a kind of turning point for BAMF in that it seems that the future of BAMF is not in the low-tech route anymore. It seems unlikely that the future will include advancements in the addition of more light microscopic lesion scores, but more in the integration of technology within the classification, which includes digital pathology, AI, genomics, and regenerative medicine.
So this is what one of the attendees wrote. It could even have been one of you, that the IFTA discussion in Barcelona was emblematic of the spirit of the BAMF meetings. And it's interesting that you can confirm that by looking at the video of that discussion. So you can look at something called audience retention, which is a graph, and every peak on the audience retention graph is an instance where somebody watching the video went back to watch a part of the video over and over again. And that video had many peaks. And so I'm not going to go through them all in detail. You can look at it yourself. But for instance, this is Roz Mannon making an emphatic point, and she was one of the peaks. There are about 30 or so peaks where prominent people got up and gave little speeches, and you know, it kind of changed the world in that we decided at the meeting to start scoring total I and IFTA in addition to the old I scoring. And when the meeting report came out, it came out in the February 2018 issue of AJT with this graphic on the front, kind of the BAMF printing press. Now, the importance of that, of course, is that the top cited papers in AJT are all BAMF meeting reports. So we have really contributed a lot to readership in AJT. And so it particularly promoted IFTA and advances in molecular diagnoses as the main themes of BAMF 2017. And most of you are familiar with this, so I'll go over this quickly. We defined chronic active ABMR. All three criteria listed here must be met, but within those criteria are options, one or more of the following. And so it's very well defined, and you'll see down here at the bottom, it talks about gene transcript classifiers strongly associated with ABMR if thoroughly validated, and that's in bold print. So this is what the meeting report looked like. This is its title: Chronic Active T-Cell Mediated Rejection, Antibody Mediated Rejection, Prospects for Integrative Endpoints for Next Generation Clinical Trials. And interestingly, shortly after the meeting report, Phil Halloran published a paper, very honest paper, showing that indeed, in a sense, gene transcripts are no more specific than light microscopic pathology, in that no transcript by itself is specific for any one entity. The transcripts overlap quite a bit. So that was interesting. But there were many other things we talked about at the meeting that didn't end up in the meeting report. They were probably a little bit too futuristic for the main authors of the meeting report, but you look stronger than that, so I think you can take it. So we talked a lot about tissue engineering, pathology, human cell atlas project, the influence of artificial intelligence on transplant pathology, and really the new regime that we're in. Up until 2017, pathologists around the world talked about how pathologists are very bad at promoting themselves. And in the last year, nobody has said that, because everything's changed. We've got this new journal, the Pathologist, which never has any icky-looking pictures and is totally gleaming and promotional. And at the USCAP meeting, the videos, which used to be the worst videos in medicine, are now the best videos in medicine, and they're engaging and fun, and you want to see more of them. So why is Ishita here? And is there evidence that she should be here? I mean, we can consider should she be here or not. There's darn good evidence she should be here. As many of you know, I have a YouTube channel. And on my YouTube channel, one can show that in the last year, when she's been joining me in the videos there, the subscription rate has gone up 6-fold. And in every other way, it's a much more sort of viral, successful YouTube channel than it was before she joined me. So I don't know how you personally feel about it, but the world out there finds videos much more interesting with the two of us in it than just me.
Okay, so as Dr. Solez was saying before, the BAMP meetings have gotten better and better at kind of capturing the BAMP spirit, which is about a discussion and consensus-based classification. So one of the issues that came up in the last meeting was about how machines will always somehow be better than us. They'll always be more efficient, more organized, so maybe it's about time that we start getting help from them to make our things better. So to address that issue, in the 2019 BAMP meeting, we're going to be considering the proposals for 2 additional BAMP working groups, one on digital pathology and one on machine learning. So obviously these would need the support of the greater pathology community. So we're working on the white paper proposals for both of those groups now.
Yeah, and this affects you directly. In 2019, we will propose these 2 new working groups, but unless the international pathology community supports them, they will be put off for another 2 years, 4 years. We'll keep proposing them until the resistance is actually overcome. But also today is the first public announcement that we're going for these two BAMF working groups, and we'll propose them formally at the 2019 meeting. I will be in charge of the digital pathology one, and Alex Lupi will be in charge of the machine learning one. So sitting there, you can think about whether you plan to help us get this through, or whether you'll be part of the resistance. I guess either one could be exciting. So this is Moore's Law. You're probably aware of this. And you may be aware that I teach a course about the fact that according to this curve, in 2029, which is just 11 years, machines will be as smart as individual humans. And in 2045, which is, you'll all be alive in 2045 and active, that machines will be smarter than the entire aggregate human race, will take over the future agenda of the world, and you'll only have any influence on what's going on or understand what's going on if you cooperate with those sentient machines in some way. Now, you may strongly resist these ideas, but there's considerable evidence for them, and that's what I teach in the course. Now, pathology and artificial intelligence came together tangibly in the spring of 2017 with FDA approval of digital pathology for primary diagnosis. Now, this was not blanket, it didn't include everything. It excludes cytology, frozen sections, and hematopathology. And the companies in the digital pathology space had considerable advance warning. Let's say around the end of 2014, they knew that the FDA was going to do this. And the magazine, The Pathologist, just by coincidence, began in late 2014. And so I don't know what you think about the market, but it's been a very hard sell. And so one of the other things that began to happen is digital pathology congresses. And in 2018, for the first time, the fourth Digital Pathology Congress became the first Digital Pathology Congress that also considered AI. And I was there, and we had a very heavily accessed poster, and I was also asked to do a blog posting afterwards, one of only 2 blog postings. Now, it may interest you to know that practically my whole career I've been interested in digital pathology, and one bit of evidence for that is when I was chairman of pathology at the University of Alberta, I recruited somebody in the digital pathology space called Yukako Yagi. I was the first person to recruit her to an academic position. She then worked as a digital pathology person later at the University of Pittsburgh, and then moved to Memorial Sloan Kettering, and she was one of the keynote speakers. She's now a really important person in the Digital Pathology and AI Congress. So my interest in this goes back a very long time.
So we wanted to talk about some of the conversations that are going around digital pathology and the inclusion of machine learning and AI technology into pathology, which I guess is keeping the theme of a lot of presentations in this conference. But so The Pathologist is, as you probably know, a pretty recent magazine that's pretty appealing in terms of its graphics and readability. It has really good promotional material for pathology compared to earlier material. But unfortunately, a lot of the articles about digital pathology and AI that are in The Pathologist are written by corporate or corporate-funded authors.
And gone, really, are the blood and guts like you would expect. You know, pathology has a lot of things that are messy and unappealing to look at, but you'll never see a picture like that in this magazine. And instead, every single graphic will draw you in. You'll be impressed with how much your endorphin flow is increased by that particular graphic. And it really makes it feel like we are in the best, most attractive specialty in medicine. Whereas maybe we used to be in the least appealing specialty, we've now gone to being the most appealing specialty. Now, think about why that's happening. The companies in this space are really scared because they're meeting such buyer resistance. The average pathologist, probably for both conscious and subconscious reasons, is very resistant to giving up the old-fashioned microscope and glass slides and to going digital. It's to some extent not a rational thing, it's just the way they feel. And what I've heard very often is this will change the whole culture, it will wreck everything. And I don't think it will wreck anything, really. As Laura has pointed out, this has so many advantages that really resistance is futile in a sense, but that does not stop people from resisting very strenuously now. And all the companies can think about is let's try to comfort everybody and promote the idea that this will be totally positive and have no downsides whatsoever.
Yeah, so as Dr. Solez said, to kind of deal with the resistance of digital pathology, a lot of the we have some quotes up here about things written in the articles that AI pathology is never going to replace real pathologists, that no one should feel threatened by advances in it, and that the collective wisdom generated by the community over many years cannot be replaced by machines. So these are really vague and kind of overlying things that can't really be proven. So they're just vague and reassuring in terms of trying to get people to accept digital pathology.
Yeah, and many of them, you could say they are true right now, but you can predict that this is just a sort of interim period and that eventually they will not be true. And in terms of pathologists remaining central, they will remain central as long as they add value to the process. But I think the reality is very much as Bertolin Metzko says here in his book, the Artificial Intelligence in Healthcare, AI will not replace physicians, but physicians using AI will replace physicians not using AI. So I mean, it's going to have a big impact. It's just not quite as stark an impact as you being replaced by a machine. But if you dig in your heels and refuse to go this route, you will be replaced by somebody who is more machine friendly than you are. So then there's this article about the 5 reasons, this is a very popular article, why artificial intelligence won't replace physicians.
So the 5 reasons here that AI can't be empathetic, can't do nonlinear thinking, it can't interpret data, there'll always be physical things like the Heimlich maneuver that it can't do, and finally that human-machine cooperation is the ultimate solution, there's nothing better. So I won't go through all 5 of the reasons right now, but if you ask any AI expert, all 5 of these are unsupported, which is why articles like these kind of are spreading false knowledge about digital pathology in a weird kind of reassuring way, even though it's not true.
So I direct a course on technology and the future of medicine. Ishita took that course a year ago, 5 AI faculty, many of whom are associated with Google DeepMind Alberta. You know that Edmonton and London, UK, the only centers where Google DeepMind is headquartered. And in terms of the course that I teach, the 3 other people teaching a similar course But they are all professional keynote speakers. And as you may be able to tell, I am not a professional keynote speaker. So I'm a full-time academic, and I think I'm the only full-time academic in the world teaching a course like this. But the other vantage point that is fascinating has to do with the government of Finland and something very recent. The day we came here was September the 6th. And on that day, something very interesting happened here. So the government of Finland has recently started a free AI course which encourages all its citizens to take this course. It would like to reach at least 2% of the Finnish population. The course is also available to everyone in the world, including all of you. And you don't have to take the whole thing. You can just take whatever part interests you. And it has a very odd part. So if you think about the concept of self-improving AI, this is one of the scary things, that once artificial intelligence is smarter than we are, it can then become much, 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 much smarter than we are very quickly, because it will be able to self-improve. But what the Finnish government AI course says is that every incremental step requires human help, and therefore that every time this sentient AI wants to improve, it's going to have to ask for permission. And so there can be government control of that, and everything will be totally fine. So the government of Finland has this all handled, and so you don't have to worry. They will keep sentient AI under control. Now, it becomes very interesting because this high-profile course is available to everybody and has already been taken by 90,000 people. It's a bit unclear who wrote this stuff. No computer scientist would ever support a lot of this course's element. So who is actually responsible? Well, the president of Finland spoke at the graduation for this course this Thursday, September the 6th. So I would say it has, involvement at the very highest level of the Finnish government. And this is not just about Finland. You can imagine that every country is going to kind of follow this model. How can we placate the masses, make them comfortable with AI, and give them the impression they should follow what the government says because we have it totally handled? I think it's become very popular with governments. Now, the idea here is that models of the world that are fictitious, that are not models of what the world will really be like, are being promoted with the idea that they can be fed to artificial intelligence when it approaches human intellect, say in 11 years in 2029. But machines don't really need that. I mean, already today, there are artificial intelligences that are creating their own models of the world, and they're entities that you're very familiar with.
So an example of this is Google Translate, which I'm sure we've used in the past few days. But Google Translate, it's kind of created a meshwork of language, of meaning that's kind of distanced by connections in the meaning of words, which is an architecture that we can't really comprehend as humans. So it kind of shows us how machines are can create their own models of the world, and this happens with lots of algorithms like YouTube, Google, things like that. So it also shows us how easy it would be for outside influences to kind of insert biases into these models of the world.
So what we'd like to leave you with is the idea that fictional worlds presented to sentient AI as fact could in fact threaten humanity's survival. I know that seems like a bit of a stretch maybe, but if you think about the things that I've told you thus far, if by 2045 machines are smarter than the whole human race, take over the future agenda of the world, they'll have decisions to make about us. Should humans be accommodated? They'll know more about human happiness probably than we do, but how will they use that knowledge? Would they want to keep us happy? And I think the fact that we're lying bastards who can't be trusted, particularly when we're talking about them, right? That if every statement we make about artificial intelligence is obviously false and self-interested, that will not go well for the human race. And we don't have to look to the future to find these fictional worlds. They exist right now, and they exist within your own specialty. Pick up the magazine in your office that looks most appealing, and you'll find lots of fictional worlds in there. And it's good for promoting pathology, but it's not good for the long run. So, the Banff classification has come a long way since 1991. And many of you have seen this slide before, and we thought we'd leave you with something a little different now that we're in the era of digital pathology and AI. So this is a poem. Hey, Bilbao, what say you to our talk in stereo? Flanking the screen so merry-o. You've been called the best European city, so where better to try our joint talkicity, different from toxicity. Many thanks for letting us experiment on you as we did our beside the screen daring do, coming at you from both sides with futuristic idea slides. We hope you found our talk useful and fun and would look forward to another one. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much.